This is episode number 2 of Sports Table Talk, hosted by Wetson. On this episode, we'll be discussing Russell Westbrook.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sports Table Talk. I'm your host, Wetson, and joining me today is two guys I've been arguing sports with for what feels like my entire life. Over here we have Ruben, and then we have Saul.
How you doing?
All right. So today's
very accurate, Wetson.
What happened?
It's very accurate. It feels like we've been doing this forever.
It definitely feels like we've been doing it forever, right? Yeah. All right. So today's topic is an interesting one. People have been talking about it lately because that man's been wilding out, and it's none other than Russell Westbrook.
Sorry to interrupt. Just wanted to remind you, if you haven't done so already, to please subscribe to this channel and also hit the bell notification so you can be notified of future episodes. Also, make sure you like this video, comment your thoughts below, and share this video with your friends and family. Thank you so much. Now back to the episode.
And the reason why I want to talk about him is because we've been giving that man flack for 13 years. Since he got in the league, we've been giving him flack. I know I have. And, now I feel like, okay, we've given him flack for so long. Is it time that, we change the narrative? So,
yeah.
We have a couple of questions. First one is, if Russell Westbrook were to retire today, never touch a basketball again, would he be in the Hall of Fame? Whichever one you want to start first.
I'll start off with this one because, I agree with you. I feel like Westbrook has been one of the most polarizing figures in the NBA, if not the most polarizing figures in the NBA. Like, you have so many takes on him, people that don't like him, people that straight up love him. Somewhat like LeBron or Stephen Curry today, where it's like you have different camps. No one's really 100% sure what he is, what he means in history. But that question for me is an easy one. Is he in the Hall of Fame? I believe so. Even without having won a championship, even having that terrible performance that they did against the Heat in the finals, Westbrook, he had like probably one or two good games, and the rest he was just like straight up trash. Can't even front about that. But even with all that, the accolades that he has, the triple doubles that he's putting up, I mean, there's just no way you can't have a guy like that in the Hall of Fame.
Okay. Saul?
Okay. I think that I agree that Westbrook has been polarizing, but I think all great players are polarizing players. And polarizing in the sense that because they're going to be loved by a lot of people, the same way a lot of people are going to try to find faults and try to find reasons why he isn't this great player that other people who love him are. So that's
right.
The burden of greatness is to be polarizing. But I think in the case of Russell Westbrook, he absolutely would be in the Hall of Fame. He absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame right now if he were to retire in basketball. But I think that's because in part of the way we're qualifying Hall of Fame players as it stands. I think if there was a different definition of Hall of Fame players, which would be more specific to what you want to see, to maybe championships, for example, then we might be having a different conversation. But as it stands right now, it's a very broad definition of what a Hall of Fame is to be. But if you're performing and putting up stats like triple doubles like it's nothing, then you automatically, to me, have to be in the Hall of Fame by the criteria we have Hall of Fame is today. There's no two ways around it because there's players whose numbers don't even statistically match up to his whatsoever that are in the Hall of Fame. So it wouldn't be fair to him to even consider him not be part of the Hall of Fame just off his numbers alone.
Right.
Okay.
And we can't forget that MVP season that he had, where he did dominate the league.
Precisely.
And
all his all-star appearances, et cetera, et cetera. His resume goes on. All NBAs.
We'll get to the accolades. Because that's definitely something I think is definitely worth mentioning. And while we're mentioning the Hall of Fame, like something about the Hall of Fame to me, I know we love putting people in the Hall of Fame, but there's a guy online, I follow his page, and he has fun kicking people out of the Hall of Fame. Like, you look at numbers and be like, this guy, should he really be in the Hall of Fame? Get him out of here. And
wow.
when I go back and look at some numbers from some guys, I didn't get to see play, of course, because I'm only so old. So it's like because I didn't get to see them play, and I'm looking at the numbers, I'm like, should they be in the Hall of Fame? And I'm looking at it by my standards, no. But then again, I have to look at the numbers according to the times because in 1960 and 1970, guys weren't dropping 40 a night, except for like maybe 3-4 guys who could do that. Guys weren't doing what they're doing now. Teams weren't scoring 150 points a night. Games were ending 60, 65, to 63. So it's like based on that, according to the times, I guess. But now, if it had to be me, if I had to redo it, I'll kick some guys out. I'm not gonna say no names yet. But
wait, I got one question for you, Weston. One question out of that statement. How old are you now, actually?
34.
34. Okay. I see.
Only been around.
We're pushing that number 2, Ruben.
Yeah, we're getting close. Yeah.
Me and Ruben pushing that number 2.
I'm already out of the calendar, so you guys are next. So
Yeah, at least I'm not like Ricardo, who still swears that he's 23.
The way Ricardo works out, he thinks he's 23. That's why it is.
Probably, yeah.
All right, so I think we could all agree Russell Westbrook should be in the Hall of Fame because you can't ball the way you are. You can't do what you're doing and not be in the Hall of Fame because you didn't win a championship. Because by that logic, there's a few guys we're gonna kick out of this. We're gonna kick out of the Hall of Fame. Oh no, you know what I mean. Like there's guys. There's a lot of guys who are kicking out of the Hall of Fame if going by not winning a championship. And the most recent one I can think of, Charles Barkley, get him out if if championship is what it counts.
Right.
We're not gonna do that because let's face it, that man was balling in his days. So
yeah.
All right. So here's my next question: is Westbrook a top 5 point guard of all time?
Ooh, that was one of the toughest questions on here. But you know what? I'll let Saul go on this one first. I want to hear what you have to say.
I don't mind going first. That's a tricky question. I actually was thinking about this myself. Even before you gave me these questions a few hours ago, I was thinking about this a couple days ago as well. And I think it would be simpler for us to, I guess, go through who our top 5 point guards all time is and then debate whether or not he should be in there. I think
that'd be a good place to start.
I think that'd be the best way to go about it because to also think about a bunch of point guards that in history that'd be kind of difficult for any one of us to do like that.
Okay.
Right.
So give me your top 5 point guards.
Okay.
What do you got?
In no particular order.
Magic.
In no particular order.
No particular order.
Yeah.
No particular order. I'd say Magic has to be in there.
Yeah.
Steph Curry has to be in there.
Yeah.
I believe. Wow. It gets tricky for me after that.
Factual. Yeah.
It gets tricky for me after that. And I'm sorry to say that. Because I want to say AI, but was he a point guard? And he played 2, so he doesn't qualify.
Yeah, he was more of like a combo.
That's what I'm saying.
More shooting, if anything.
He doesn't qualify.
Okay.
That's the reason why I didn't want to put AI in there in the conversation because that would be a conversation about, I guess, what his position even was. So let's just take that.
Right.
Wow.
AI was a short 2 guard, but so he had to play the point. So because he was shorter. So by that logic, AI is a point guard.
For me, I'll put Isaiah in there.
Isaiah, sure. I'll take that too.
Okay.
I will take that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you say AI is a point guard, I will put AI in there as well.
Okay, so you're up to 4.
So right now we're up to 4. We got Magic, Steph, Isaiah, and AI. Okay.
This is Saul's list.
I don't. You do Isaiah and then I'll let you rock. So I'm not sure if it's entirely my list, but let's go with that. Okay. I don't see 5 point guards in history better than Russell Westbrook. Objectively speaking. Like if we put him one-on-one, mano, we could debate, but I think my debate would be about something entirely different than his worthiness to be in the top 5 point guard. For example, I want to put Chris Paul on this list as well. But that would, for me, would be a debate about whether Chris Paul is better than Russell Westbrook. And if we look at the numbers and everything else, that would be an absurd conversation for us to even have. You feel me? Russell
Man, you
Westbrook.
think so?
Number.
Oh man,
This is his 4th season, averaging a triple double. So for me, I have to say he's top 5 for sure. He has to be top 5.
Since you
Can't tell me
mentioned
top 5 from better than
since
him.
you mentioned Chris Paul, let me make this question a little bit harder.
yeah.
Does Russell Westbrook make players around him better?
Well, you can go
That's
ahead.
questionable.
You can go ahead.
That's questionable, and that's part of the
Hold on.
reason why.
That goes along with the same one, because I'm making those two basically one question.
Yeah,
Because does he make players around him better, and does that make him does that then make him a top 5 point guard of all time?
right.
Or
For me, that's the reason why I wouldn't have Westbrook in my top 5.
right.
Because I got my list is no particular order. Although everybody on this chat knows how strongly I feel about Stephen Curry, his place in history.
Mm-hmm.
Magic Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
Steph Curry, Isaiah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if AI is considered a point guard. Yeah, I would put him.
He has a point guard
Yeah,
for
so he's
a point guard.
He's definitely on that list, and I got CP3 instead of Westbrook.
Okay, so right
So
now
that'd be my
your
top five.
Your top 5 is Magic, Steph, Isaiah, AI, and CP3.
Yeah,
And so
And
yours was Magic, Steph, Isaiah. Who was it? AI
Yeah, I know, brother. AI.
and Westbrook.
he brought AI, and he's got Westbrook in there. The reason why is to answer your question, Weds, because I don't feel like Westbrook makes players around him as good as CP3 makes players good around him. Like we seen CP3 go from the Hornets, where they were a playoff team at one point.
They were.
And they didn't even have that many people on that team. I think David West
James
was
Posey, David West. Like they didn't have anybody, of that caliber, and he was young.
Yeah, exactly. And granted, David West was balling out during those years as well. And then he goes to the Clippers.
Was he in the league at the time?
Nah, definitely not. Definitely not.
Let me finish. I'd like to counter.
All right, go ahead.
So then he goes to the Clippers, and they become a playoff team. I mean, they do what the Clippers do and end up losing when they shouldn't have lost, but that's another topic. Rocket, same thing. He balls out there. The numbers aren't as to the level of Westbrook, right? He's not averaging triple doubles, but he's always up there in assists, always steady with his points per game. But you can see the value that he adds, especially this year. Case in point, where he goes to the Suns, and last year, which was like a lottery team until they exploded in the bubble, and now they're number 1 in the West.
Number 1 in the league.
In the league, yeah.
I mean, if that's not a testament to Chris Paul's ability to make players around him better, I don't know what is. Like, aside from you talk about KD, LeBron, Steph, and these players that are like game changers and team changers.
Okay.
CP3 is right in that argument.
Okay, so
my counters are this. While everything you said is absolutely positively true, I think CP3 is a better floor general and a more pure point guard. As a consequence, his team overall becomes an overwhelmingly better team. Whether it be on his IQ, you feel me, his ball distribution, playmaking, his understanding of the game, all these things making a floor general makes his team better automatically, as we have seen, especially the Phoenix Suns. Personally, the Phoenix Suns are my favorite team in the NBA right now. I will say that. So I can agree with that in a sense.
Nice.
However, my rebuttal is this. I think what you're saying is true to an extent, because what has all this make the team better done in the playoffs? He still hasn't been to the conference finals. Westbrook has been to NBA finals. You feel me? Has been to NBA final, for example. Westbrook has done more in terms of playoff success than what Chris Paul, even though you're saying his numbers and his influence on the team isn't as significant as Chris Paul, which I can agree with. But what has it proven? What has it done to manifest itself in a substantial way for the argument to be relevant?
That's my you know what I'm getting from this? You know what I'm getting though? It's the difference between like I think it's a difference in leadership, because Russell Westbrook is the type of leader where he's like, listen, I'm going out there. For example, Russell Westbrook is one of like 3 players in my belief that has never cheated the game. That guy does not cheat the game. The moment he gets into the time he leaves the court, you know he's giving you everything he's got that night. So I think it's a difference in leadership, because I think with Westbrook, his style of leadership is more like, listen, I'm gonna go out there and give it my all. I expect it to do the same, right? He's like, I'm gonna do it. Just, follow me. CP3 on the other hand is more like, I'm gonna hold your hand through this. It's the difference between like, listen, follow the leader versus let's all hold hands, sing kumbaya. I think that's the difference in leadership. I think that's the difference in with their leadership. I think that's why, for most people, for example, when you hear them talk, like Russell Westbrook will not throw his teammate under the bus, ever. Although CP3 doesn't do that either, but with Westbrook, you know that what he does is like, listen, I'm gonna go out there, give him my all, and my teammates will, win or lose, we lose together. But CP3 is more like, I should have led them this way. So it's like, I think it's a difference in leadership. But I noticed something, in both y'all lists. The all-time assist leader in NBA history is not on either one of your lists.
We don't care.
Talking about Jock Stockton?
Yes, I am.
We don't care.
I have no qualms about. Yeah, I have no concern.
Yeah, we don't care. I don't know why you said that stuff. We don't care.
No concerns.
We don't care.
So would he be on your list, Wes?
No, absolutely not.
He knows we don't care. He knows we don't care. He knows none of us care. I don't know why. That was.
I just noticed something. I just noticed, and you guys didn't say anything about it. So I was like, all right, okay. If we're making that list, for me, that list is actually very similar to yours. Because me, I got Magic, Steph. I got Magic, Steph. I do have CP3 in my top 5. I have Isaiah. I have Magic, Steph, Isaiah, CP3, and the 5th one for me is Russell Westbrook.
You got Westbrook. All right.
I got Westbrook. A lot of you, AI banned most of them, so that's weird.
It is. But for me, like, I think it goes back to the fact that even though we're arguing AI as a point guard, I'm not putting him in the list of point guards.
But you gave us that list of point guard with him in it.
Listen. It's not being a hypocrite, okay? Deal with it, all right?
What?
Can't deal with this man.
No. You know what? For me, it's like, I would feel like, because making a top 5 list is ridiculous. Because I'm like, dude, we're talking like in the course of like 60 plus years of of basketball, you choosing 5 it's a difficult thing. And
it's impossible, really. It's impossible, really.
It is. So it's because no matter who you leave out, it's like it's a valid point. You can't leave anybody out, because everybody who you leave out feel like you should have been in. Like I leave out AI, but it's like, but AI should be in. But it's like, if I'm putting AI in, who am I taking? Isaiah Thomas? I mean,
I don't really care.
But it's like,
but somebody has to go out,
bro. Somebody gotta go. But dude, that man Isaiah, late 80s was balling out. Like that man went against Magic, Bird, took off. No, I can't. It's hard to take him out, but at the same time,
back-to-back champion.
Yeah, it's hard to keep him
out.
I
conquered the East, bro. He conquered the East.
I find it like right now, if I take out Westbrook, what would be the reasoning? The championship thing? But then if I can't put AI in by that logic, because AI don't have one either.
Right.
So it's like, so for me, AI don't make, because, and also CP3. Like to me, I like CP. I like Chris Paul. I like Chris Paul. Like that man, he's every team he goes to, like that OKC team he went to. With
I forgot OKC. Look at that.
Definitely OKC. I was gonna mention to you, but it wasn't
with Gallinari, Gilgeous Alexander, Steven Adams. That man was 5th in the West.
Honestly,
5th in the West. Like, come on now. Like, who made that team? Who was the reason the team was even in that position? It had to be CP. There was nobody else.
It had to be.
Yeah. You see, the Suns are the best team in the league this year.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's funny. I'm gonna say this because it's funny because all season I've been telling everybody like your Suns is obviously the great team, the top five team. And everybody's like, oh, it's just the beginning of the season. I'm like, guys, how are you gonna say it's just the beginning of the season? It's 5 games left in the season, and they're the best team in the league. What are we saying now? You know what I'm saying? So it's like it gets tricky for me because I don't know.
I'm still not sold on the Suns, to be honest.
It's the Suns.
I'm still not sold on the Suns, to be honest.
As a championship team?
He's still not sold on the Suns. 5 games
as a championship team, I'm not sold on that.
No.
But can I get a chance to rebut Saul's rebuttal?
Go ahead.
So you were saying that because it hasn't culminated, like CP3 making the teams better, hasn't culminated to championship, kind of makes my point.
Or deep playoff runs, really.
Okay.
You guys not making any conference
compared to Westbrook. Yeah, there's a stark difference there.
He's made several conference finals.
It's a black mark on his resume that he hasn't made a conference championship. But you got to think about it too, though. Like with Westbrook, he played with an all-world player in Kevin Durant for the majority of his career.
He had no control over that. They were drafted onto his team.
Yeah, but it still makes a point that Chris Paul only had a chance to do that with Harden for 2 years, right?
Perhaps, but he can't be blamed for the people who drafted his team and his teammates.
Okay,
he's simply playing basketball.
Played with Blake Griffin in his prime, and
they were up 3-1 against the Rockets.
And
Blake Griffin,
but a Clippers team that was balling. A team that was top 3 in the league.
Yes.
And a team
3-1 lead.
What 3-1 lead against the Rockets?
Yeah. There's no excuse for that. But Blake Griffin, granted, is not at the same level as Kevin Durant.
Absolutely not. But what we're saying is the fact that
all-world player.
I have another one for you. Kevin Durant went out against the Warriors. Him and James Harden, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson to go to the finals championship again. And there again, they failed again.
Is that more on?
You're saying, James Harden's not all world? Is James Harden not at least as good as Stephen Curry? Like, I don't know. I feel like you're making excuses for him. Like he's never had any players. Like he's had.
No. I said he had James. I said he had James for like 2 years. I made mention of James, of course. I was like, he had James for 2 years. Westbrook had Durant for a majority of his career. So there's a difference. Yeah, no, not blame. I'm just letting you know that the circumstances probably didn't help the situation. If you're saying
that, Westbrook won an MVP. Chris Paul never did. So it's like, even when he's by himself, he excelled overwhelmingly more than Chris Paul did.
Look at Weston eating his popcorn. He's just like, this is juicier.
I'm just saying, he excelled even by himself when KD left him. He was dolly. He averaged a triple-double, made the playoffs. You feel me? Won MVP. So it's like, I mean, what does he have to do? You know what I mean? Okay. So it's like, I don't get it. Okay. Even by himself, he excelled further.
You make a point, my man. I can't argue against it.
Speaking of triple-double, is a triple-double an overrated stat? Here's why I'm asking that. I remember, this is going back to like 2009, maybe 2010. Of course, it was Colin Cowherd on ESPN at the time, I believe. Was it Colin Cowherd? It was somebody on ESPN, and they were talking about LeBron.
Always somebody on ESPN.
Of course, they were talking about LeBron. They were saying how, man, the way this guy's playing, he seems to be the only guy in our modern era that can average a triple-double for a whole season. And they said once he does that and win the championship, that will solidify him as the greatest player in history. Because if he goes and have that feat, because he was averaging 28, 8-8, or 9-8, or something like that. They were saying, listen, the way he's racking up triple doubles, he will be the only player in our modern era that could do it, or that will do it for an entire season. Fast forward, I'm gonna say 4 or 5 years later, Westbrook averaging for a season. The same guy goes on camera and goes, a triple double. What's the big deal? It's a stat. It doesn't mean anything. I was like, the hypocrisy of you. I was like, when it was LeBron, we was ready to crown him. He doesn't. Westbrook has done it not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 times now. But because the standard that we set for Westbrook was like, Oscar Robertson averaged it for one season, and we held on to that for 54 years. One season he did it. We held on to it for 54 years. So, about average a triple-double for a season. Oscar Robertson. Great. Now, here comes Westbrook, who's done it 4 times now. Is the triple-double an overrated stat? Or is triple-doubles is always Westbrook's greatness making it look so easy as if it's like, I could do this so easily that to you, it's overrated. But in reality, it is as great as you think. What say you?
I kind of feel like your explanation just gave the response, honestly.
That was my response, bro. Not
in a way.
Honestly, I don't have any other words. You really just took all the words. Pretty much what I was going to say was just that exactly. The reason we're even asking this question is because he has turned transcendent level skills and ability and performances to make it pedestrian. As a consequence, now we think it's pedestrian because he's made it pedestrian. But it's still transcendent for everybody else, and it has been for 54 years because it's never been done. Still has not been done by anyone other than him. So it's still a transcendent thing because it's still not being done by anyone other than Russell Westbrook. So I think the conversation should be very much flipped. Is Russell Westbrook a transcendent player that is so great that we're asking whether or not his obvious greatness is being treated as pedestrian?
Yeah, I feel like it's a really easy question. Like anyone that says the triple-double is overrated has not really played basketball, like
at all.
You know how much work it goes into, even getting a 10-point game, and now you're talking about at least 10 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. There's just no way. I even saw
to get assists. Someone other than me has to score to get an assist.
Exactly, and the effort to get the rebounds. I was watching a video on YouTube where they showed how, Westbrook's when he was chasing the MVP and the trying to get the triple-double record for that year, they were showing how his teammates would clear out, Steven Adams clearing out for Westbrook to go in and grab the rebound and stuff like that. I'm like, you really have the time to look at this and talk about, to try to minimize what this man is doing on the court on a night in, night out basis. You can't pay attention to people like that. So obviously the triple-double is not an overrated stat. It just speaks to his greatness. Like LeBron makes things look easy that that we just like.
Let me give you a number. You guys might remember, I think it was 2016 season when Kyrie, in the playoff when Kyrie and LeBron both had 41. I forgot what game it was against the Warriors. They both had 41, so I think they had 82, as a pair. And everybody was like, "Yo, no duo has ever done this." And two things that came to mind when they said that. One, there has been a duo that did it. Kobe Bryant and Kwame Brown. They definitely did more than 82 in a game. In fact, I think they did like 86, but hey, we're not going to talk about who had 81, who had 5. We're not going to do that. We're simply saying it's been done before. But no, in reality, the part that got me is the fact that I remember that game. I remember watching. Kyrie had 37, and LeBron had something around 28, maybe. And then, it was towards the end of the game. At this point, the game was practically over, right? LeBron go down the lane and made like 5 easy buckets, 5, a couple of layups, couple of dunks, and then Kyrie had 2 more buckets. Now they both had 41. It was like, oh my God, look at these guys, look at the numbers they had. I was like, is that stat padding? Is that what we're calling it, or we're just taking the game for what it is, and the fact that they just scored and they get that number? So it's like the narrative is like when somebody that they like do it, it's great. When somebody who's not as likable, because let's face it, Westbrook is not the most likable guy.
Right.
Like when somebody they don't like as much do it, it's pedestrian. And so
it goes back to my point earlier that that Westbrook is probably I think now he is the most polarizing figure in the NBA. And Saul's point, of course, is that all great players are polarizing to a certain extent, but Westbrook is just like, man, so much flack is thrown in that man. It's incredible.
So I think if you bring up an interesting point, Winston, because I think the very idea and concept of stat padding is ridiculous to me. I mean, I don't really understand how professionals stat pad, because you have 5 other professionals on the other team whose job it is, who gets paid to stop you from getting those stats.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to get other team get steals from you. You're not supposed to let the other team get rebounds. You're not supposed to let the other team score. If the other team gets an assist, it's because they scored. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, your job is to stop them from doing these things. And if they're doing it, you're not doing your job, or they're just better than you. So your excuses are simply just making excuses for why they're beating you. And it's just so silly to me. I think it's it's unbecoming for anyone to talk about a concept of stat padding in a professional game. It's like, what?
I haven't played basketball on a professional level. I would basically play basketball, at the park and all that. And I'm like, I don't think there's ever been a guy on the other team who's be like, oh no, I'm just gonna sit there and watch you score. I'm gonna let you score because that's never happened. And I'm talking at the park. So it's
Never happened.
So it's like
Never mind getting paid for it.
Come on.
So you're telling me these guys have no problem,
coaches, the staff, they're all letting this happen, and
it's just,
you mean tell me everyone? Come on. Not just the players, guys. The coaches or senior players letting this happen, do nothing about it. The owners, all these all these people whose job it is to stop me from doing this, and tell me this is happening, and somehow, somewhere, you just stat padding. Come on, let's get real. Let's get real.
No, his numbers are real, and they're mind blowing. The fact that he's doing this for a 4th year,
4 years now, that's ridiculous.
Okay. Okay, I have 2 more questions for you guys. What do you think, if you had to put a finger on it, what do you think is the reasons why Russell Westbrook hasn't won a championship yet?
Oh,
man.
You go first.
Oh yeah.
I want to
I've
say,
done my research, just so you guys know. I've done the research. Like, these questions I'm putting together for y'all, it's because I've done the research. So, I want y'all to think.
you know what? I want to say that it has more to do with team situations. What I mean by that is, it makes it to the finals against the Heat. What year was that? It was like 2010,
2012.
I think. 2012. Okay, 2012.
When they made it to the finals against the Heat.
Against the Heat, and they had to go through like some juggernaut teams to make it there to begin with. They had to go through the Spurs, and I remember that series.
They swam through the West.
It was tough.
Swam. Beat everybody in 6.
Backstroke,
They did not have a tough time. Please do not get this narrative. They swam through that West. All 3 of them swam through the West.
Well, against the Spurs, remember that series was not easy. Even though it was 6 games, it was not an easy series. But anyway, continuing, so they got they had that chance, but they never got that chance again with the same team.
Okay.
And so, if they ran it back, there's a good chance that next year could have been their year.
The following year, Westbrook got injured for the first time in his career.
There's that injury, team situations, all of that put together, bro. I don't think it's because of a lack of greatness on his part. I just think that, like, players before him, Charles Barkley, MVP at one point, balling out. I mean, but he had to go against Michael. He had to go against the great teams that dominated those years. Same thing with Westbrook and the Warriors. Like, you in the last 5 years, to get out of the West, you had to go through the Warriors. So, and then there's KD leaving. Like,
okay.
There's just, I mean, he hasn't had any luck. Let's put it that way.
So,
I think for me, it seems to me, it's just one from my personal watching basketball and understanding that there's the game portion of it, then there's the human portion of the basketball. And it's not just skill, shooting, passing. It's not just that. There's a whole lot of like getting along, understanding your teammates, chemistry. There's a whole lot of other non-physical aspect of the game. So that said, for me, I think what I find trouble with Westbrook is the fact that I think his biggest strength is often his biggest weakness as well. And I think it's his incomparable forward thinking, always go push, push, push. And I think that has gotten him a lot of success in terms of, I guess, individual success mostly, but it's also held him back, I guess, in a team format as well, because I feel there's a lot of times in which he should be pulling back that he doesn't feel like he should be pulling back and he doesn't pull back. For example, I'd say a lot of times on being teammates with KD, he should have been more of a point guard, setting KD up and his team up, than the alpha dog that he is, attacking the rim all the time and things. So while I think that, again, that's his biggest strength. He's athletic, you feel me? He's fast, he's strong. That's his strength. That's what gets him his success. But I think him, because that's so much his thing, he has a hard time pulling back his mentality in terms of like understanding situations and developing like situational basketball. I think that's his biggest issue, is developing situational basketball, understanding the time in which KD's a better shooter than you. So while you can make those threes, KD's statistically a better shooter than you to be taking those threes more. For example, that's just an example. That's not necessarily all there is to it, but as an example, it was like, okay, this would have been a better idea to do in a clutch situation in the playoffs. Because him and KD lost to the Warriors after blowing a 3-1 lead themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, this is not like all the things you're saying about him having all these great players. He did. They did. And had great opportunities too that they also blew. Chris, so did Westbrook. Him and KD were up 3-1.
Yeah.
They were up 3-1. And they blew that lead. They were supposed to go to the finals, and that was their shot again of winning the finals. They didn't get that shot because they blew a 3-1 lead. Why that happened? I feel like, again, part of it was not, I couldn't say entirely because the whole team of 12 people with coaches and everything. But Westbrook, as a superstar, his portion of it was he does not understand situational basketball. And when it was time and appropriate for him to pass the ball, shoot the ball, or just simply not be even part of the play and be a distraction to play, he has a hard time understanding where he needs to be, as opposed to a player like maybe Steph Curry, who plays well off the ball and is better at situational understanding positioning in basketball. So I think that's more of his weakness, and that's led to a lot of the things that he could have been more successful at, and that it just didn't happen, just didn't formulate or materialize.
Well, I got a question for you. So are you saying that it's his personality and leadership style, or it's his IQ, or are you saying it's all three of those components together?
I'm saying
held him back.
He's not great at any of those things, but it's not any particular one of those things that's making those things happen. So I'm saying it's not his IQ is bad, therefore this leads to this, or his leadership is bad, leading to. I think that he's working his IQ, he's working his leadership, and he's work his understanding of basketball and some of the situations. So all those things plagued him together.
Sorry to interrupt again, but just wanted to remind you, if you haven't done so earlier, to please subscribe to this channel and also hit the bell notification to be notified of future episodes. Also, make sure you like the video, comment your thoughts below, and share this with your friends and family. I'm just trying to help this page grow, so your support is greatly appreciated. Now back to the episode.
It's not one of those things that's a plague.
Okay, it's all three.
He's a bad leader. He's not a bad leader. I'm not saying
it's all three.
He has no IQ. He does not have bad IQ. But all of those things are not as great. As a result, they plagued them together as a and consequence. That's what I'm trying to say.
Because I was gonna say, when it came to his personality and his forward thinking, like 100%, it's similar to the late great, we all love him, Kobe Bryant, who himself said that Westbrook was the player that reminded him of himself the most in the league. He said that a couple of years ago, and so I was gonna be like, yo, what you trying to say? I mean, my man Kobe Bryant had 5, right? It doesn't mean like it's personality, but if you say all three of those things together, absolutely, 100% agree with you.
No, you know what? I can agree with both of you on this one, because Westbrook, for me, like was based on what Saul say, Westbrook doesn't have a middle ground, this is what we call situational basketball. For example, like if we're playing and I'm having a great shooting night, then you can feed me the ball. if somebody else is having a better shooting night, I gave them the ball. But Westbrook on the other end, he has this idea, which is part of his greatness, where he's like, you know what? I know what I could do on every single play down the court. I know every single play down the court. I can make whatever play I want, and it'll come out well. Yep. However, it doesn't apply in every situation. It doesn't always apply, and sometimes you have to pull back. And he doesn't have that middle ground. He has 0 and 100. When he's on the bench, it's 0. When he's on the court, it's 100. Nothing in between. Mm-hmm. So, like that level of pull back, play off the ball, do a back cut for another team, like that level of play, he doesn't have it. He doesn't have that. His mind doesn't work that way. And as far as why he hasn't won, I'm gonna say like we said, it's a combination of a lot of those things. But I'm also gonna blame coaching on that one. I'm gonna blame coaching on that, and also some teammates. By teammate, I mean KD, because if you're KD. If you're as talented as you are, if you are as great as you are, and not if you are as talented as we say, you are as great as we say, because we can see it. Good. They don't make him like you. They've never made him like you. There's nobody else built like you. And somehow you play basketball like, in every situation as if you're the park kicking around. Why? Dude. If we're on the court, and especially if I'm having a good game, or I know like there are people like that we play ball with. So, for example, Awesome, our cousin. If we're playing ball with him, and this dude decides, I'm gonna go ahead and so make, bro, no, give the ball to somebody who could do that. He at no point when he played with Westbrook has that been be like, yo, Westbrook, no, you can't do that. You got to look for me in that position. Look for me. Yeah. I'm the one you should be looking. He doesn't do that, because I feel like if he did,
but we know we know that Westbrook was the alpha on that team, and we kind of know.
I'm saying KD in that case, you need to be an alpha too.
Yeah,
you can't be out here like you're too talented to be playing Robin. Right. In that case, right. It's got to be 1 and 1A on any given night. It can't be, oh, I'm the guy. You can come in after me. No, not when you're this talented. Not when you're this great. Right. And then, of course, the ultimate, that move to the Warriors. That was the ultimate beta move you could have made to me.
Irrelevant to what Westbrook's success, but yeah.
And it's so for me, it's like why he hasn't won. There's a number of factors to it. There could be, pure bad luck. It could be, some games where he could have done better. But also, if we're going to talk about that 2012 Miami game, there's a couple of things you have in that one, okay? You have a young OKC team. Durant was on his 5th year, Westbrook on his 4th, I believe, Ibaka on his 3rd, Harden on his 3rd. It's like, I think Harden was on his 4th as well, because I think he came with Westbrook, I think. No? Okay, so okay, so Harden came after. So it's like you have a young OKC team who, although they swam through the West, like Saul said, it was still a young team. Whereas opposed where you have a Miami team, a frustrated LeBron, who now is now on his 3rd final, he has lost both of them. Especially the loss to Mavericks. Every single game from that point on, that man was on a mission. Every single game every single night after that loss to Mavericks, that was on his mind. So when he got a chance to go back to the finals, that man was on a mission. It would take the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost to have stopped them, stop them on that mission. Like he was balling like, listen, I've never seen LeBron play in a post until that series. LeBron decided, I'm so much bigger than you, KD, like in terms of size, in terms of, pure strength. I'm going to go ahead and take you in the post. Like, he was on a mission. Like, that OKC team,
they weren't ready.
They were not ready for Miami. They were not ready for LeBron. Because, again, at this point, if LeBron had lost to OKC on that one, we having a whole lot of different talk, about LeBron now going forward.
Guys.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah, you know what? Matter of fact, I think going into that series, weren't the Heat the underdog?
Underdog.
There's no way LeBron James was the underdog
against OKC.
No, they weren't.
No, absolutely not.
No,
I'm pretty sure they were
Underdog?
considered to be the underdog.
Yo,
Yeah,
listen, man, we all have
because of the dominance of OKC, they're like the best team that year.
He had a better record. What are you talking about?
The Heat had.
Did they?
He did have a better
Yes,
record.
bro. What are you saying?
I need to check this fact.
Bro.
We're
the
talking
best record in the league,
LeBron.
dog.
I obviously did some research before this.
I did not do this. I just thought they were the best team in the league
Okay,
that
hold
year,
it
bro.
up. 2012.
That was the lockdown year.
Oh yeah. It was when they did start playing to like the end of December or something like
They
that.
played 62 games that year.
Yeah. No, yeah, he's right.
True.
And in the previous year, I think Miami won 66 games or
Telling
something
you,
like
bro.
that. So
They won like crazy 30 game
66.
wins, bro. Like
yeah.
some nonsense like that, bro.
That
29.
season again, I don't see who would have beaten LeBron in the finals that season because he was on a mission.
While I may or may not agree with what you're saying, I think are negative though. Reasons why it's not saying they couldn't beat LeBron. I don't know if I agree with that. I think that
You're
a lot
right.
of things went wrong. I think because if we're really being realistic, the way they beat everybody, they beat Kobe, they beat the Spurs, they beat every West, and they definitively beat them too. So it's not like they had no chance. And the way you say they had no chance to beat LeBron, they didn't have no chance. They just didn't execute because Harden didn't show up. That's a part of it for sure. Westbrook had a couple bad games. It wasn't.
I didn't say there was no way.
They were in the finals equally and fairly, like everybody else.
No. I just said they had no way. What I'm saying though, it's not so much like they had no chance. What I'm saying is the fact that we're talking a young OKC team who, again, for me, it seems like when they get to the finals, they were like, when somebody from Wisconsin show up to New York City and they see a billboard on Times Square, it's like, oh my God, we're here. It's like it was like fascination. It was more like
KD averaged 30. Stop it.
Bro,
KD averaged 30 that final.
Stop it. Bro, KD could average 50 if he wanted to.
What was he looking at? He was looking at basketball. He was averaging 30, bro.
I'm saying KD
Wait.
30 season.
Hey, they lost.
I got some facts for y'all though.
They lost.
I got some facts for you guys right now.
Yeah, hold on.
You're right about the record. The Heat were 66-16
Yeah.
that year, 2012, and the OKC was 60. They had won 60 games. But on June 11, 2012, the Oklahoma City Thunder opened at 10-17 favorites to win the NBA Finals. They were the favorites that year.
By who?
Las Vegas, man.
Listen.
Las Vegas?
Yeah, the money line.
A single logical person say this to me. You're talking about Las
I'm
Vegas?
telling you.
Who said the Clippers was gonna beat the Nuggets and stop it, bro?
There was even an article on Bleacher Report 2012 why Oklahoma City Thunder are clear cut favorites to win the NBA Finals.
Yo, what's going on?
Clear cut.
Oh Lord.
Clear cut, bro.
Whoever said that needs to lose their job. I'm sure they were fired, so it's okay. I'm sure they were fired. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So OKC underperformed that year, but I still believe that it's mostly because, again, young OKC team. I don't think they were ready. They
weren't ready. They were inexperienced. Does not mean they were not ready, guys. They were inexperienced.
That's what I mean by not ready.
Teams have been inexperienced and won before, bro.
I understand.
Isn't the factor? It's a challenge, but it's not an indefinitive reason. They had a bunch of superstars like everybody else.
My reasoning has more to my reasoning is more so on LeBron's greatness that year.
Yeah,
his willingness or his fight to win that year, more so than blame on OKC not winning. Because again,
the thing is OKC had never been there before as well.
We're talking about Westbrook. We're not talking about LeBron. We're talking about Westbrook.
No. Okay.
I don't know why we're changing the narrative of the conversation.
No.
It seems weird to me.
The reason why I mentioned again a young Westbrook, a young OKC team. That's why I mentioned LeBron was even got in culture. It was a young OKC team that were not quite ready, in my opinion. They were not quite ready to go against this team that who, again, for example, right? We talk about like a team on a vengeance. The same way Miami Heat in when they beat the Spurs in 2013 after that Ray Allen shot, and they beat them the following game because they were defeated after that shot. The following year, the Spurs came back. We talking vengeance?
Yeah.
You've never seen them play with that kind of vengeance, than that 2014 Spurs. Every single night, They went out there and said, "Listen, I don't care who's in front of me. You're going to lose." And I think Miami in 2012 had the same energy for OKC. It was like go in the finals. That's how I look at it. So as far as
I don't disagree.
I agree with you that OKC was not ready.
They're just saying your argument is the fact that they just weren't ready because what? They didn't beat 3 teams. They didn't win 12 games in the playoffs in the Western Conference, which was supposedly the toughest conference. They didn't do enough things to get to the finals. Come on, guys. What is this?
They weren't ready to face. They weren't ready to face Hunter LeBron, and he's never been before.
Better. I agree. Telling me they weren't ready after all their accomplishments is infantilizing these guys. You're making these guys look like they're children. Like they weren't ready.
They were inexperienced. So it was their first time on that status at that level.
Grown men, and they were superstars who beat other superstars in the tougher conference. Guys, come on. Let's not do this. Let's not do this. Okay. All these things, be all these great players just to be children before the mighty LeBron. What is this nonsense we're saying?
That's the narrative. I'm going with it.
This is nonsense. I believe LeBron's better than them. LeBron to this day still better than them. I think LeBron would have won no matter what, personally. That still does not change the fact that we're talking about Westbrook and we're talking about why not they failed. And you're telling me because they were children who swam through the West.
Never said you said
everybody, because you're telling me these excuses as to why they couldn't win. They were inexperienced. They weren't ready. LeBron was on a mission. These are words that are used to infantilize adults. This is what we're saying to me. That's what I'm trying to say.
You know what? No, I agree with Wetzel in this one. So it's the reality of it. That's just how it works.
All right, they're telling their kids after they swam through the West, they accomplished a feat.
So we can agree.
So the Spurs won that year and we got to 2012. Would we have still said the same thing? No, we would not have. We'd be like, oh, the Spurs are adults. You know what I'm saying? We can respect them.
Because
but Thunder beat them.
Because they've been there before.
They were better than them. Thunder were better.
They had been there before.
To get to the finals. Come on.
Okay. All right. So with that being said,
Yep.
And with that being said, I think we can all come to a conclusion that the reason why he hasn't won. There's multiple things. There's multiple factors.
Sure.
There's not one thing. There's not one reason, and we can't put it all on him. There's not one reason.
Absolutely.
Like we can agree on that. Sure. I guess the last thing is, well, I don't think this needs to be asked because I feel like we can all agree on this for the most part. I simply ask, is it time to to put some respect on his name? Is it time to respect Westbrook for the great that he is, as opposed to all this narrative that we have about him, all the negative? Is it time to actually just do that instead of finding reasons? Is it time to stop finding reasons to to dislike him, to discredit him, and just Is it?
I feel like Westbrook definitely deserves more respect than he's gotten. He's gotten a lot of disrespect for what he's done, and yeah, you may not like his personality, you may not like his on-court attitude, and sometimes his off-court attitude, the way that he's gotten in spats with different people. But I mean, the guy is an all-time great, Hall of Famer. Granted, not a champion yet. Who knows what the future holds?
You know what's funny?
But
when you mentioned, not liking him, I remember, for example, Kobe. Kobe wasn't as liked, in his earlier years as he was later on. There were plenty of years, especially after Shaq left, when people blame him for Shaq leaving. He was not liked, and he went out every single night and balled the way, he was a psycho on a mission.
Robbed of a couple of MVPs, I believe. But
absolutely. I mean, men. I think 1 year men averaged 35, and they gave national MVP that year. I was like, okay, whatever. But
I don't want to hear my thoughts on that. But let's continue.
I do. But no. But all right. So go ahead, Ruben. I don't know if you are done. I know I cut you off, but I don't know if you are done. With
It's time to give him the respect that he deserves. All these people from these different media outlets making him seem like he's not as good as blah blah. It's just all talk. Like the real people that watch basketball, that play basketball, know how great this guy is.
I think he gets his props from the people who respect what he is and what he does. I think most of the criticism, some of it is benign, but most of the criticism simply is this: his success performing numerically has not resulted in playoff success. That's everybody's only concern. It's like, okay, all these triple doubles are beautiful. The first time we were all in awe, we gave you an MVP. Second time, was like, okay, this is great. But each of these times, you keep going out in the first round. And the only season in the last 5 years, I don't know about this one yet because it's still yet to be done, but only season in the last 5 years that you've gone past the first round has been a season you didn't average a triple double. So that's the only concern everybody has in terms of the relationship between these triple doubles and success. That's the only question people have. I think it's a very fair criticism because it's like, we want you to succeed. And it's like, all you're doing is performing these ridiculous feats on the court, which we like, but you're not winning. Your team's under 500. You're not winning. You're not getting any sort of success playoff wise. You're performing victory wise. So it's like, what's it really all mean? And that's a very fair criticism. I think that I stand by that criticism as well. Whether or not I like Westbrook, I think he's the Hall of Famer, like it's like everybody else. But it's a fair criticism. It's like, we want to see the greats be great.
Is he to blame for that, though?
I beg your pardon?
Is he to blame for the lack of success?
Everyone is to blame for their lack of success.
I feel like that's
entirely to blame. Maybe not, but it's your life, your success, your responsibility. You got to figure it out. You've had great teammates. He's a Bradley Beal's team this year on the weak Eastern Conference. Like, when are we going to stop making excuses why he's not making it happen? He's had great players, KD, Harden, like, et cetera, et cetera. Like, he's had great players, 30-point scorers. So it's like, are we going to keep saying, like, is it not his fault? Like, what are we saying? I don't get it.
First of all.
No, I think your criticism is fair. So the way that you've just phrased it, why hasn't your level of play and your all world talent, these numbers, why haven't they led to a championship? Yeah. Or even like deeper into the playoffs. That's fair. That's what you're saying, and it's very fair. But that's not what everybody that give him criticism is saying.
I guess it's my interpretation.
It's more like, oh, yeah, it's you're a very wise man. It's very clear and precise in the way that you formulate your sentences and your criticism. But obviously, some people are just like, yo, Westbrook is trash. He's the reason why KD left.
Yeah, there's those nonsense.
He Westbrook, he can't shoot. All of that's the criticism that comes to mind. That's why I'm like, yeah, if you don't play basketball, you will never really appreciate the level of talent that we're witnessing. And I feel like he gets more criticism on the individual level for team success than before him. It was LeBron that was getting that criticism. Right, personally, like, especially since LeBron coronated himself as the king. I don't know who gave him that nickname. I think he just kind of
was illustrated when he was 14.
There you go.
I still blame them for that one.
There you go. So, but Westbrook has never really claimed anything of that level to deserve that kind of individual criticism for what is team success.
By the way, these criticisms are coming from guys like Skip Bayless, who averaged 0.3 points in college basketball, and Stephen A, who blew out his knee walking down the stairs. I'm just saying, like, that's where those criticisms are coming from, So, and I'm joking around, of course, but because those guys, of course, know their sports, they've been covering it for long enough that they know what they're talking about. However, I do think the criticism sometimes is it's right. And I can agree because I've seen some games. I'm like, dude, why are you doing this? Like, pull back, I understand. But other times I'm just like, really, you gotta blame him for what everybody else didn't do because he's the leader, because he's the best player on the team. It's like, you're gonna blame him for what everybody else didn't do. They're playing a nice where other guys didn't show up. He's the point guard. They're playing a nice where they're playing a nice where we had guys who didn't show up. Like that last run with the Rockets and James Harden, the last run, dude. Then Tony halfway through the season decided, you know what? We don't need anybody over 6'6". We don't need that. We're just gonna shoot three, right? And that's how we're gonna win.
Right.
Like, that was dumb, dude. In the playoff, these guys got out rebounded by like 20.
Ridiculous.
You know what a rebound is?
Ridiculous. They don't get it.
You know how you get a rebound? You know how you have to win? You're telling me, like, out of those, even if 5 of those were offensive rebound, that's extra possession for the other team. And that's less possession for you when you miss.
Yeah.
Because everybody on the team is 6'5" and under.
Yeah.
It's like, in that one, like, and also, like, you were not going to win with that, with that gameplay. With that plan, that was never going to work. So, but I mean, again, the criticism is fair because, again, I've been part of that same criticism over the years. I just think, like, we can't put it all on him, especially, we can't put it all on him. I refuse to accept that, it's all him. It's all, like, no, there's plenty of people to blame. Like, and again, I blame coaches for a lot. Like, because I look at some coaches, I'm just like, you shouldn't have a job. I'm like, I don't know why they keep hiring you, but and by some coaches, I mean, Mike D'Antoni. I don't know why Mike D'Antoni still got to get coaching jobs. I don't know why, because I'm like, I don't know why he still got coaching jobs. So that's what I mean by why some guys. So
speaking of coaching job, Bleacher Report said that there's 2 coaches right now they're thinking about firing if they don't do nothing this year. The Blazers coach and the Bucks coach.
Ah.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna All right. So we basically come to a conclusion where we can agree that it's not all he's definitely as great as we think he is. The criticism is not always fair, and that he deserves the respect and also some of the blame. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Sports Table Talk. And there you have it. Let me know what you think in the comments. What did you agree with? What did you disagree with? Send us your thoughts. And we'll see you next time for, whatever we discuss next. Thank you for joining us. Until next time. Take care.